Lots of notes there, let me tell you. Don't know how many of them were random. Folks, how you doing? Welcome on board. It's the Monday Guitar Show. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and chat about the guitar. And we're doing specifically that thing where we try and make you, dear viewer, a slightly better guitar player when you leave us than you were when you arrived. And I'm going to do the thing that I should have done before we rolled the stream, which is check the tuning on this lovely black fiddle that I'm playing today. More on that later. Hi, welcome. If you're new here, we do this every Monday, right? A lot of fun. We've got a lovely community of streamers who come and join us every week, growing week upon week as well. Of course, this stream is brought to you by our friends, I beg your pardon, at Lick Library and GuitarInteractiveMagazine.com, excuse me. Wow, no idea what that was. It's not dusty in here or anything. Anyway, yeah, stream is brought to you by our friends at licklibrary.com, Guitar Interactive Magazine. You know what to do, hit all the appropriate YouTube buttons, etc. Today, we are discussing why your solos maybe don't sound as musical as you might like them to. We've got a lot of solutions for you. This is continuing on from a whole stream of streams, I guess, a whole run of streams where we aim to make you a more musical improviser. We're going to be touching on some of those points that we've discussed in our previous streams, but we're also going to be spending a bit of time, a lot of time in fact, with some new stuff that maybe we ain't talked about yet that I hope you'll find very useful. Before we do that though, we're going to say some hellos to you guys, and as per usual, we want to know what guitar you're playing. So today, let me show you the guitar I'm playing. This is a guitar I haven't played on stream in a little while, but it is an old friend. This is my PRS McCarthy soap bar, which you will see is loaded with a set of Fishman Fluence Greg Koch signature Gristle Tone P90s. If it's good enough for the Gristle King, it is good enough for me. Love myself a bit of Greg Koch. Wonderful guitar player in just about every idiom you can imagine. Just frighteningly good guitar player and frighteningly big man. Greg Koch is enormous, in case anybody's not familiar with this. Like, I'm a solid 6'2½", and like there's a photo of me next to Greg and I look like an infant. I look like his infant son, apart from the fact that his infant son Dylan is bigger again. It's crazy. Just, I don't know what they're feeding the Koch family, but it's clearly manifesting as enormousness and like humongous talent as well. So we want to know what guitar you're playing, and of course I want to join everyone in the chat in saying rest in peace to the now late, great Chris Rea. Unbelievable. Horrendous news. I mean, like, as a fellow Northeasterner, like, man, Jesus, horrific. Like, I grew up listening to Chris Rea. It was always on play in my house. Road to Hell was the one, because of course that's the big single. Everyone knows Driving Home for Christmas, but what a beautiful guitar player, right? Very, very underrated. Fabulous slide player, great, beautiful, gravelly voice. So yeah, Chris will be sorely missed, right? We RIP Chris Rea. A lot of folks in the comments saying the same. Unbelievable, sad loss, really tragic loss. Anyway, we shan't dwell. We're going to move on to saying hello to you guys. So let's say hello. Let's see who's in the chat. Marcin is the first one through the door. Says, great topic. Hope so, man. Thank you very much. Playing his PRS Custom 24. Beautiful guitar you got there. We like a PRS. Response Audio is in the house. Says Knee, the nice who's saying knee. And then corrects himself to hi. I've totally got you. Timothy Appling is in the house, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and hope you find guitar goodies under your tree. Love a bit of that. I've kind of fallen down the rabbit hole myself of camera goodies underneath the tree. I was expecting a new camera today, but DPD have... for want of a better word, they've I can't say the word because we're early in the stream, but they've messed me about, is what they've done. But hopefully new cameras coming tomorrow, which will mean an improved quality for you guys. But it's okay, it's all good. Oh, Timothy's got him the new SLXD14 wireless system. Very cool, good choice. That's a proper pro wireless system, that as well, man. That will serve you well in any environment, and we do like a wireless. Wireless is great fun. Helmet Strap is in the house. Great to see you playing his budget Court. It's his cheapest and most rubbish guitar, but always one he picks up daily. Funny how that works, isn't it? You know, sometimes you have these guitars that are just like, they're maybe not a particularly, let's call them a desirable guitar. They're not a status symbol, but the ones that you pick up all the time. I have an Aria in the house. That's my house guitar, and I love it. And I could take any of these guitars home, but love playing this aria. It's really great. It's not an expensive guitar. I think it's an absolute treat. Larry Warren is in the house. He's going to miss the stream, but he's going to catch it in the rebound. Well, Larry, when you catch us in the rebound, Merry Christmas to you too. Oh, yes, and don't forget, everyone, we talked about this last year, go and listen to Larry Warren's Christmas album. It's really good. Simply Christmas, right? We love a bit of that. We love to support you guys making music. So if you're making music, let us know, right? We'd love to give you a shout out, and we'd love to go and check it out too. So go and check out Larry Warren's Christmas album. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Love a bit of that. K Strange is in playing a Jackson Dinky. Very cool, right? We've got a Chord X2, and all that sort of stuff. Oh wow, so is Jackson soloist. Fantastic. Okay, there you go. Chords, they make some serious guitars, man. We did a review of the Headrest Ramos signature guitar recently, and it was a dream. Four Corners is going to catch it on the replay. We'll see you then, my man. Neck and Neck's playing a Sunburst Strat. We've got very cool. We've got a 2021 reissue of an Ibanez RG565 in fluorescent orange from our friend Mike Seedorf. Very cool choice. Very cool choice. We've got an Ibanez PG301. Beautiful. Real nice. Steve McD, who's tuning in from South Shields, literally like round the corner. I'm only in Whitley Bay, mate. There we go. We're seconds away from each other. Come and see me at a gig. I play locally all the time. Is playing a Telly. Very nice. We love a Telly, as usual. Steve Louth, as in South, is playing a JP15. Super cool. Very nice. Marlon Riley tuning in from Phoenix, where I guess it probably is sunny. Is it sunny at Christmas in Phoenix? I should imagine so. It's a warm place. Playing his PRS SE. Very cool. Love a bit of that. Response Audio says, at times it's random in the improvs, sometimes like fishing for ideas. I can relate, but we're going to see if we can do something with that. Chris, who have we got here? Kriwisan, I'm going to pronounce that very badly. He says, let's go indeed. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. My friend Craig's tuning in. Lovely to see you. Playing guitar, as always. Oh, playing his guitar. Yeah, this is Craig's favorite guitar, right? I do like this guitar, though. It is super cool. It seems to be everyone's favorite PRS, and I can see why. A lot of love for Chris Ria in the comments. For sure. Like, what a tragic loss, man. We've already talked about that, but for sure, 100%. Who else do we have? Very quickly, we're going to say some more hellos. Nick Harrison's in the house. Great to see you. Catmandu, 1962 is here. My friend Paul, who I met at Guitar Summit, is here. Good to see you. Blitzco is tuning in. Talaka is tuning in. Oh, it's Raphael or Raphael, whose name I will hedge a bet on. Playing an Ibanez 350DX. Very cool. Love a bit of that. My knees hurt. So do mine. He's laying in bed, drinking a double IPA. Very nice. Ibanez waiting for you in the corner. Go pick it up. You'll need it. Vinny's tuning in, playing his Gibson ES395 Figured. Very cool. Very cool indeed. And I think, oh, where's the Turbo Man? The Malmsween. The Malms. Oh no, Ingrid Malmsween is packed away, and the Turbo Man doll is somewhere over here. If I can reach it, I'll get the Turbo Man doll out later, Craig. I'll send you a picture of it, because Turbo Man doll is kicking around up here. He stays in the studio year round. So anyway, folks, if I've missed anyone, I apologize. I think we've got everyone. Oh, our friend Vachislav, who I haven't said hello to, is tuning in from Russia. Lovely to see you. And our friend Armando is tuning in from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about making these solos more musical. So, let's get about it. Now, we have discussed over the last few weeks together many strategies for being more musical with your phrasing and with your choices. But we haven't really discussed the global view of being more musical with your solos, i.e. what does it take to craft a more musical solo as a whole, which is kind of what we're talking about here. So let's begin by talking about the random notes thing, the thing that we all do, right? Because we're all guilty of this, and I would love to say that I had a 100% success rate for playing super musical solos. I do not, right? I often find myself playing the random thing, and I have to kind of check on it a little bit. But let's talk about what that is. So our backing track today is in G minor. Broadly speaking, G minor pentatonic will work great. It's G Dorian for the most part, although we do have a little spot where it switches to G Aeolian when we have 4 minor. But don't worry too much about that. That's not something to be concerned about. G minor pentatonic will do the trickery. So let's talk about how we might find ourselves playing some random stuff, right? So we're playing in G minor. We know G minor pentatonic is a perfectly acceptable set of notes to play. we can play any combination of G minor pentatonic notes and it should work, right? That's what everyone tells us. Everyone's like, well, play this scale and it should be fine. Well, how's that working out? So let's have a go. Let's just see what happens, right? I'm going to play some random notes using this scale in our backing track. Let me just quickly fade it back in. Here we go. In G minor pentatonic, let's random it up. So we get this. Now, look, some of those licks were cool. Some of those licks were fun, for sure. But did that constitute a great solo? I don't think so. I think that constitutes the random notes thing. Now, this is not to suggest that it's only fast playing where we're playing random notes. We can do the same thing when we're phrasing and we're playing more melodically. We can find ourselves just playing some random nonsense, maybe like this. Let's do an example. Same thing, but this time we'll dial the speed back, but also in G minor pentatonic. Very random, very disjointed, not the most musical example of playing that we've ever heard in our entire lives. Now that is for the purpose of demonstration, but you kind of see where I'm going at here. I need to tune this guitar again. It's got fairly fresh strings on. I don't think they're fully broken in yet. Let me just give it another little quick tweako. Okay, cool. So the randomness here is not a product of us playing the wrong notes. It's not a product of us playing notes that are bad, because what we can hear is these notes are broadly, at least, in air quotes, they are in tune, and they're kind of working for us to an extent, but not that much. Now, the problem comes not from the notes that we're playing, but from our mindset when we're playing these notes, because when I'm playing like this, and when I hear people playing like this, usually the problem is that we're not framing what we're playing in our own heads as making music. We frame it in our heads as taking a solo, which is not the same thing. Now, taking a solo should be synonymous with making music, but it's not always. Certainly not in the minds of us guitar players who are interested in improving our craft, let's say. I've called this in the past the questing guitar player. The guitar player who is on the quest to be the best guitar player they can. And sometimes we can lose the music in this quest for excellence. Now, every time we sit down to improvise, to make music, we should always remind ourselves that the goal is to improvise music. The goal is not just to play some cool licks in a row. We are trying to improvise music. We are trying to compose on the spot. And we've talked about this at length, but something we haven't talked about is that music, as far as what we're playing, does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in context. Now, unless you are playing completely unaccompanied, which sometimes that is the case, you'll be playing along with something. And this is the important distinction that we're going to make. Distinction number one, there'll be several observations on this today, but this is one of them, is how much attention are you paying to the backing track? How much attention are you paying to the accompaniment that you're playing along to, right? If I had to ask you about that backing track that we just played, could you first of all tell me what instruments were playing in that backing track? Could you tell me all of them, right? Could you tell me if there was a tambourine going on, for example? Could you tell me if the drummer was playing on the hi-hats or playing on the ride cymbal? Could you tell me what the bass player was doing? Was the bass player playing eighth notes? Was the bass player playing quarter notes? Was the bass player playing runs? What's going on there? What is the kick drum pattern as far as we go? Now, I'm belaboring this point, but the point with this is that if we don't have this in our heads, if we are not able to listen very clearly to the backing track and the thing that we're playing along to. And by backing track, we will extend this out, obviously, to the things the other musicians on stage are playing, if you're playing on stage, or the other musicians in a recording, if you're recording something. If you don't know what's going on with those guys, you've got precious little chance of playing something that will complement the music that is being made, and by extension be part of the music and not just be some random nonsense sprinkled on the top. No matter how cool the nonsense, it'll be random nonsense. So what I'm going to encourage you to do now is we're going to grab our guitars and we're going to do a little exercise on this, and I'm going to see if we can identify a part of the backing track that is a strong standout, and then we can tailor our playing to maybe complement this. We're going to see if we can hit it first of all, but then we'll start complementing it. This is a listening exercise as much as anything else, but it is to draw your attention to the accompaniment, to listening clearly as you play, not just to yourself, but listening to the music holistically. So let's throw our backing track on and let's actually do a bit of listening before we play. So grab your guitars, you're going to need them, but we're not going to play right away. So what's a big standout to you here? Something I can hear is these two chords, these bosh, bosh. That's cool. I can also hear this psst on the drums. Psst. That's really cool. And there's a little shuffle thing. Psst. And it feels like there's something else going on those chords. So on those chords, that's where our slide guitar comes in. The rest of the time, it's this doubled electric and acoustic riff. So it feels like there's a lot of energy going on in those two chords. And the rest of the time, for all it's busier, there's less space being taken up. So what I might do is, with my improvisation, I might try and complement that by trying to hit those chords and leave space for them to be large. So I might try going ba, ba, on top of the chords, maybe, for argument's sake. So if I'm playing away, I might get something like this. Where that is on top of those chords. Let's just see what that does. This is as a listening exercise. I'm not saying you always have to make these hits, but as a listening exercise, we should be able to identify them and choose to do them should we want to. So let's see what it gives us. That time, but it works. It might not have sounded like I got it there, but let me play you again what I got. So the big notes, they were on the chords. Quite crystallized idea, but it works. And here I'll match this energy. And now we're somewhere else. So this is but one example of what I'm talking about, which is listening out for things going on in the music around you and allowing those to influence your playing, keeping that in mind. The big global thing here is being aware of how your playing exists in the context of the bigger, broader musical picture. And this, friends, will be one of those things, if you don't do this already, that will immediately elevate you to become a better improviser and, in a broader sense, a better guitar player. I know this because I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about what makes a musician hireable, for example. What makes a musician somebody that you would want to call back? And one of these things is that the musician's that you would call for a gig are usually people who make the whole project sound a little bit better. Make the whole project sound better. Their whole goal is not to serve themselves, but they are serving the music as a whole. And if they can serve themselves and get that shit in, for want of a better term, within that context, even better. Even better. If you can do me some magic stuff within the context of serving the music, my goodness, right? You are up there with the best of the best. You're an Andy Timmons, or certainly well on the way to being so. So this is kind of where I'm going at with this, and we're going to keep going with this line of thought and see where it takes us. But before we do, just going to quickly answer a couple of questions that are coming in. If you have got questions, drop them in. So here's a friend from Alfredo is saying, what is a scale? Hello from Venezuela. Alfredo, a scale is a collection of notes that are probably going to sound good in a particular context, let's say. It's a selection of notes that produces a particular sound. So if we take minor pentatonic as our example, let's do a slightly less high gain sound. If we take minor pentatonic over here, we could have these notes. As a selection of notes to choose from. We would call that our scale. It's a selection of notes that you would use to make melodies and make chords from. And if you choose a different selection of notes, you'll get a different sound. That's kind of a way to think about it, I think. But here's a good one from Sam Jr., who we haven't seen for a while. I understand how you can be noodling when trying to improvise, but should we be trying to hear something in our head before we improvise? A very big question, Sam. And I'm going to start this up because we're going to answer that a little bit later on. If you've got questions, we will answer those later on, because that's a big question. But in a broad sense, sort of. You are very close to the truth of what we should be doing there. You're super close, right? You're within a sniffing distance of what it is that I would expect someone, or I would want someone to be doing when they're improvising. And certainly what I would be looking for from myself in my own improvisations. Now, let's go listening once again to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of turns to experiment with our mindset with this backing track. And if you have got your guitars, I'm going to encourage you to play along here. I'll leave you some space. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to play some cool licks, right? Just play some cool licks over our backing track. G minor is the key, G Dorian if you want to be fancy. Some fancy stuff. Let's do it for real. Here we go. You take a turn, just play me some stuff in the space. Here we go. Not worried about what we're playing particularly. Not worried about what we're playing. This time what we're going to do is we're going to play, but as we play, we're going to listen not to ourselves, but to the backing track. I'll get you to do the same, but I'm going to take you back to the beginning so you've got the same thing to play over as me. So listening to the backing track, not listening to ourselves. Let your own playing do whatever it wants to do, but we're listening to the accompaniment. You take a turn, listening primarily to the accompaniment, so don't be led by your own playing. Listen to the accompaniment and just let your playing do what it wants to do. This may seem strange at first, and you might get some strange results at first, but stick with this because we are going somewhere. All right, let me go back to this. This time what I'll do, I'm gonna listen to the accompaniment and I'm gonna try actively to respond to it. going to listen actively to our accompaniment, and we're going to try and respond to what's going on. Listen to that. Bam, bam, bam. Here we go. Bam, bam, bam. This little riff. Ba-da-dum, bam. To get rid of War Sam's question, so we're coming back to that. Okay, let's pull it back. So this active listening to our backing track while we play is huge for playing more musically. I want to know from you in the comments, when you tried this, when you took those steps of actively listening to the backing track, did you feel that your playing became more musical? Did you feel that you were focused less on the ideas that you wanted to play and more on the ideas that you felt like you should play? Because this is the next question. It is about making decisions in real time with your improvisation about what will complement the music. And this is the musical equivalent of reading the room. So we all know someone, and I don't want to name any names here, right? Because I've got lots of lovely friends, but we all know someone who is just not capable of reading a room. You walk into a room and they just can't pick up the tone, right? Maybe they're the person that says something inappropriate when maybe they shouldn't. Or maybe they, aren't prepared to have a laugh and a joke around when that's the tone of things. Maybe they're just real stiff. This is where we don't want to be as a musician. We want to be able to musically read the room, so to speak. But the room in this case is not our audience, that's another topic, but the room is the music that we're playing over. And we should be informed in our improvisation by the music that we are playing, beyond just the tempo and the key. We should be trying to match the vibe that we're trying to play. Now, this leads me to my next question, which is solo construction, because all the best solos that have purpose, have flow and structure to them. They aren't just a set of random phrases. The phrases themselves could be cool, but if they're structured in a random order, they don't necessarily phrase together very well. They don't play together to make something interesting. For example, if we took the solo from Stairway to Heaven, right? Really famous solo. I'm going to hopefully not get copyright struck if I play bits of this. Hopefully I won't. I'm sure we won't. But if I go like this. Wherever it goes like. This solo is a masterpiece, and I'm butchering the middle section because those phrases, they're kind of dimly in my memory. But the point I'm going to get at with this is if we took this and we just rearranged the phrases in any old order, they would all work. They would all fit, sort of. They would work in the sense that nothing would sound out of key, but the solo's flow would be completely disrupted. And we'll talk more about that as we go over this next example. So if I was to play this. Oh, sorry, I'll get that right. Nonsense, just a selection of cool sounding licks. It's a selection box that's been opened in the wrong order, to use a Christmas analogy, I guess. The point with this is micro thinking. It is thinking about the solo in the moment, which is important, but not having some grand vision or even just the ability to respond to what's being played in a way that serves the song and the music in a whole sense, if that makes sense. So the reason Stairway, or one of the reasons Stairway is such a great solo, is because of the way it builds in its intensity, right? It builds in its intensity using register, among other things, and it ebbs and flows, and it starts with this bold statement to begin with, and then kind of starts to back down on itself to leave it a little bit of room to start to leap up to those high repeating notes. it's a masterpiece, right? If we took it and we played it in any other way, it wouldn't have that same musical contour and that same musical shape. So what we can do with ourselves on our backing track is we can take this idea that we're just playing here, where we take this G minor idea, and we can start to imagine a potential structure for our solos. And what we may do with this is we may use some simple tools that maybe govern our intensity or govern the complexity of ideas to start to build a solo and construct a solo. This doesn't mean solos always have to start here and finish here. It means there is some discernible movement and they don't go here, 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 all over the place. Let me play you a cool sounding set of licks that doesn't have a particular structure to it, but maybe is respecting the backing track in terms of what's going on rhythmically and in terms of contour, but it doesn't really hold together as a structure. And then I'll do something where I try at least and create some kind of sense of movement and structure to the solo. Let's see what happens. So we're going to our backing track. Here we go. Just joined us, by the way, and you want to play along, the backing track is in G minor. Let's play a set of licks in any old order that are respecting the track, but maybe don't go together as a solo. Wrong with it per se. The licks were fun, they all sounded good, but it was a bit disjointed, wasn't it? It didn't really have a flow to it. It was just, here are some cool sounding bits of guitar. It's guitar salad, and a nice guitar salad at that. I feel like the licks themselves were pretty cool, but yeah, you know, didn't really have a great deal of melodic intent or flow about it. Let's flip that and let's try doing this with some more clear melodic intent. And by melodic intent, what I actually mean to say is intent in terms of the shape of the solo and the contour. I'm going to start it somewhere in the mid-range, I'll boil it down low, and then I'll bring it up high to finish it off with some intensity ready to go into our next section. So let's see what happens if we do this. This little introduction. Much more flowing. Now, were the licks as cool? Sort of. Some of them were, some of them less cool. But the point with this is there is a sense of overall flow to this. Now, this does not have to be a flow that starts high and ends low or vice versa. The flow is up to you, and you can see as part of your improvisation where you want the flow to go. This is part and parcel of the magic of improvisation. It is not just stringing together cool licks and being able to play motivic stuff and being able to play stuff that is like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and repeating patterns and hitting all the right notes or any of that kind of business. It is guiding your decisions based upon the decisions you just made and based upon the music that is happening around you. Hopefully this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if this is working for you, if this is making sense. I feel like this is a very, very underspoken about topic, personally. And I think it's something that's quite important. So let's persevere. Now, I'm going to set you a challenge here where you're going to try and play something for me along with this track. And we are going to take some little solos back and forth. And our goal here, to begin with, is to create what we might call the Nike tick of solos, which is, as you would look at it, this shape. Whoop, where the solo starts yonder and then works its way up high after a momentary lull. This is the Stairway to Heaven solo structure. It is structured like a Nike tick. It starts kind of here and goes, yeah, and then it goes way down here and then goes, yeah. The actual contour of it is, you know, it's context dependent, but that's where we're going. So here we go. We're going to take a look at this. I'm going to do an example, and then I'm going to set you the challenge and see if you can accomplish this. And I will arm you with the easiest tool to do it with to begin with, which is register. Register being, is it high, is it low? And then we'll explore some more techniques we can use with this. So we're listening to our backing track, and we're taking a listen to the track and going, what kind of solo is this going to require? This is going to need maybe a little Nike tick solo. They're not always like that. Sometimes it needs something else. But in this case, that's where we're going to go with this. That's a little story. It's like creating a song structure. So I'll do an example first. I'll do it over just 2 passes, and then you'll get an opportunity to do the same. Same deal. Really am enjoying this guitar today. I'm glad I picked this one out. So I'll start here. I'll go. I'll maybe take 4. Take a turn, see if you can manage the same contour. Be mindful about it. Be mindful about the shape of your solo. All right, if you've taken it down, time to start bringing it back up and see if you can get way up to that top, but don't get that too soon. Don't be hanging out at that top waiting around for the solo to end. We're gonna wrap it up right about now. Did it work for you? What I want to know from you is, did this work, right? If you played it and it flew and it worked, fantastic, brilliant. If you need more time with it, don't worry, you can practice this to your heart's content. But this is a global view of creating music with your solos. Now, within this come all the other techniques that we've talked about, such as respecting time and subdivision, such as note choice, such as motivic development and creating theme and repetition. All of these things happen in the moment, but you also need to be able to string these things together in a way that creates a musical whole, for want of a better word, W-H-O-L-E, just in case anybody's got their mind in the gut now. So yeah, creating a musical global thing. I keep saying global, but that's kind of where we're going with this. So here's a great one from Sam Jr. He's saying, here we go, we should think about it as how we are going to enter a room and how we're going to leave that room. That should be the solo flow. Absolutely, yeah. Think about where are you going to go, how are you going to get there, and how are you gonna leave, especially if your goal is to make an impression, right? If you're creating art. Now, if you're just going in and hanging out with your friends, I don't think you should be there worrying about maybe like, you know, well, I've got to walk into the room because I'm meeting all my friends. I've got to make sure I walk in and project strength. I saw a hilarious thing today where some guy, some guru was like, oh yeah, if you gesture here, like, you're not projecting strength, but if you gesture here, you're projecting strength. I'm like, you're a madman, bro. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. But in terms of creating art, that's a very good way to think about it. Very good way to think about it, I guess. So yeah, how do you make your entrance? What happens next? And then how do we leave on a high? A way you could frame this is not necessarily how you behave in person, but how you behave if you were on the set of a movie. So if you're a character in a movie, let's say, how would your character do these things? Would your character walk in and say very little and leave lots of suspense in the room? Would your character walk in and like completely command the room? Would your character be more of a bit player? Would your character be in the back going, let me just observe what's going on here, if that makes sense? Sam, yeah, hanging with friends in the room is noodling. For sure, absolutely, and the guitar is your friend in this instance. Really good one from our friend Lisa, saying musical cohesion. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is making that connection again, making that connection in our mind with improvisation as music. Because let's not forget, once again, the tacit phrase here is when we say improvisation, what we actually mean is improvised music. That is it. That is not to say that every time you play guitar without a plan, it has to be music focused. Otherwise, practice wouldn't exist. You can explore the guitar, you can noodle on the guitar, that's all fine. But is it improvisation? I don't think so at that point. Unless your goal is music, I wouldn't call it an improvisation, personally. It's a distinction I make in my own head. Anyway, and you're absolutely free to completely disagree with me on this, by the way. This is just my own thoughts on the subject. So, let's start to put some things together. So, things we've spoken about in the past. Rhythm, respecting subdivision. We talked about the idea of commanding your music with subdivision, using subdivision as a technique to develop intensity and interest in your playing. Well, what if we paid attention to our backing track and used that to inform subdivisions? Great. What about note choice? We talked about note choice. So, you know, do we land on a questioning sounding fifth, or a plaintive sounding third, or a tense sounding raised seventh? I don't know, you choose. And when do we choose to do it? Let this be informed not just by, hey, that would be a cool thing to do, but rather, what would be the coolest thing for me to do right now to complement this thing I'm playing over, right? Other things, motivic development. We've spoken about motivic development. When do I need a motif within this? When would this solo benefit from some motivic stuff where the listener can hang on something? And when is it good for me to move away from that? This is the big picture stuff, folks. This is how you start using all of these techniques that we've spoken about. And it is super valuable, and people do not do this stuff enough, I don't think. So let me start to crystallize all of this thing together for you and see how it comes out. So I'm not going to ask you to worry about this, because I've given you enough to worry about just listening to the backing track and trying to respond, and then creating a global structure in your solos. But as you get better at this stuff, you'll start to think about all of these things all at once. But also, we'll talk about the thing you should be thinking about, because Sam Jr. was asking, also, when I say think about it, we'll think about it, but also kind of not think about it at the same time. If that makes even the hairest bit of sense, you'll see what I mean. So, here's an example. Let's start to put this together, and I'm going to start to consider note choice, subdivision, and also motivic choice, and all this other stuff that we've spoken about to create that solo with flow. Pay attention and see what you can pick up from this, because I won't be able to explain it as it's going on, I don't think. That was influenced by the backing track. Quite a cool solo. That came out quite well. So, once again, folks, the whole thing here is it's a global view of this stuff, and taking all of these techniques that we've discussed in the previous few streams. Go back and visit this, by the way. And just in case you're wondering, we absolutely have made a course on this, and it's coming your way soon. I am super excited to tell you all about it, but I can't tell you that much about it right now. Let's just say that it is a course covering all of the concepts that we've discussed in these streams, and it will be coming your way soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's actually taking a 10-lesson format, which is a very popular course format over at Lick Library. By the way, if you're not a Lick Library member, you should consider signing up, because we've got all sorts of good stuff for you, including courses on this subject. And you get them all. There's weekly new lessons. New lessons added literally every week. Nobody else does that, right? We've got more lessons than everybody else, and we're adding more lessons. We've got so many lessons that we've had to introduce tutor support. So if you're baffled by how many lessons we've got, because we do have a lot, you can reach out to our support team, and they'll guide you, because they're players. These are all guys who are like serious guitar players. They'll guide you through the thing. They'll go, oh, you should be working on this, and you should try this lesson by Danny Gill, or this lesson by Andy James, or this lesson by Sam Bell, or whatever. So yeah, anyway, Lick Library ads aside, we're going to take some questions, because I'm sure you have them, and we're going to start by taking a question from Mal Riley, because holistic view is it worse, as my friend Craig? Absolutely. Holistic in the sense of viewing it as the musical whole. So the questions icon is on. Oh, here's cool. I love this. This is great from our friend Joey Rams Zero. I'm not a guitar player, but I love using guitar sound techniques with my synth playing. Love a bit of that. Now, I feel like when you hear this stuff, there is a certain guitar-y quality that you can bring out in this sort of thing, which I always think sounds cool. For what it's worth, I try and do similar things with synth techniques. Some of them anyway, in my own guitar playing. So I've got this little thing that I do in my mind that I've robbed from Jordan Rudess. And I'm like, that is such a cool thing. And it's specific techniques with the pitch wheel that I think sounds super cool. But yeah, that's amazing, man. I'd love to hear some. Very, very cool. Here's one from Mal Riley. There's what are your favorite licks that you like to use? So I'm gonna answer this in quite an obtuse way. So what I'm not going to say is I don't play licks, because I obviously do. Everyone does. I obviously have things that are in my vocabulary that I play often. I'll play them fairly regularly. So there'll be a thing that'll come out in my playing and I'll go, yeah, that's cool, I'll play that again. But I never consciously go, well, let me choose a lick. Let me play this lick here. That is almost never what comes up in my brain when I'm playing. Now, whether it comes out in my playing as licks, that's a different story. And there are certainly some things that crop out often. They change over time. There are certain, I guess you can call them devices, might be an interesting way to put it. So, for example, one that I play fairly regular is this little movement where we play. You know what, I'm just going to go to the two hands cam for this, because you probably need to see. How long has it been since we've had this camera out, by the way? So long that I've now finally treated this camera to an autofocus lens. So it'll actually be in focus on this hand. For the longest time, it was a manual focus 50mm. And it was just like a pain in the neck every time I had to set it up. Anyway, I digress. Camera stuff aside. So this sort of lick, fairly regular, where I'll play two notes on a given string, and then a note using the higher finger, which in this case is the third finger, on the next string. So in this case it's D string, and then I pluck on the G string. Now the way I use this is not necessarily as licks per se. So I'm not going, oh, well, I always do it in this order, and I always do this. Because what I'm really doing with this, I'm taking this idea, you could call it a motif, and moving it around depending on how I feel it should fit over a given backing track, if that makes sense. So while it is a lick in the sense that it's an idea that I'll go back to time and time again, it's not a lick in the sense that it's a particular structure of notes that I always play in a given order. I realise this is a very roundabout way of answering this, but it should highlight perhaps a way of thinking about licks, let's say, that is maybe a little different to the way some folks would explain it. I'm being very obtuse with this for obvious reasons, I think, hopefully. But so I definitely don't want to say, oh, I don't play licks, because obviously I do. Everyone has things that they play all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to identify a style from a player, and it's every player's goal, myself included, to have an identifiable style. So yeah, good question though, very good question. Here's one from Sam Jr., right? So I promised I would answer this, right? Because it's a very good question. We're going to get to this now. So this is a big question. When you improvise, should you try and hear something in your head before you improvise? I don't think so, but I think you should hear it in your head exactly as you're playing it, So this is going to sound a bit strange, but we're going to use the George Benson analogy here. It's the Guthrie Govan chat about George Benson, and he would say of George Benson that his students would come in and ask him, Guthrie, when George Benson is playing that thing where he plays and sings at the same time, and he goes, mess that up. Whatever that is, that thing that George Benson does, is George singing what he's playing, or is he playing what he's singing? And the answer is yes. It's the same music, it's just coming out of his voice and his guitar at the same time, simultaneously. And that is how we should be when we are improvising. The only difference is we don't have to sing it out loud. We should be hearing the music in the instant and not planning it. We shouldn't be thinking ahead about what we're going to play. We should just be playing it in the moment. The reason being that if we start to plan ahead too much and we start to think about what's coming next, then we are unable to respond to music as it happens. We're unable to listen to the musical conversation and respond to it, but also we can't really take ownership of and keep track of the thing that we're playing right now. So when we start to get too far ahead and we start to think about this cool thing that we're going to play next, the thing that we're playing right now suffers. And that's no good. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to think about stuff as we're playing it. Literally as we're playing it. You need to hear it clearly in your head in the same way that when you're conversing with someone, if you're having a conversation with someone, you don't think about what you're about to say before you say it. You think about it as you're saying it. And you are guided by the flow of the conversation. You don't want to be one of those people who's listening to somebody else talk, but you're not really listening. You're just thinking about what you're going to say. And you're planning I'm going to say this cool thing next. I don't really know what this person's saying, but let me plan out what I'm going to say. We don't want to be that person. And we all know that person, and we don't want to be that person because that's not a fun person to have conversations with. We should be thinking and hearing as we play it. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, I've just found a way to make these bigger. Wow, fantastic. Look at that. That's pretty good. Okay, there we go. Made it a bigger thing. Good. Let's just go back to our comments real quick. So a very, very good question, Sam. Definitely one that's in there. The answer is yes, Craig, in there. We love a bit of that. And as our friend, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to say Quantica is saying it's like when you're in a flow state. That's exactly what it is. This is what flow state is. It's what it feels like. If you guys don't know what we mean by flow state, it's a wonderful phenomenon where you're just kind of for music at least, it's where you're in the music and you're just being guided along by what can feel like some outside force. I don't think it necessarily is, but that's a philosophical question that I don't need to get into because I'm a guitar player. I'm not somebody whose opinion you should pay attention to on that. I just play the guitar. But that is certainly what it can feel like. It can feel like the music is just flowing out of you and everything you play is just kind of there. It's a lovely thing, right? I love a bit of that. So here's another good one. It's almost like George can't even keep up with the guitar, with the flow that he's singing sometimes. Real streaming audio for sure. Absolutely. Whenever I try this, there's often times where I'll play something and it wasn't quite what I was hearing, but I'll sing what I was hearing and it's like, ooh, ooh, Oh, it was nearly there, but it didn't quite come out right. And that's actually a very good way. It is a very good way to audit yourself on this in terms of your intentionality is, can you actually sing out loud what you're playing? Can you audiate what you're playing? There is a fantastic demonstration of this by, oh, dear, I can't remember his name. He's a Swedish gypsy jazz player, and I can't remember his name. He's a fabulous player. All I remember is that he's jacked. Which is, you know, if you know anything about me, you know that's something that I notice about people. I'm like, that guy's jacked. God, geez, what is his name? But he's a fabulous player, and he does this one. Andreas Oberg. I don't even know if he's Swedish, right? I know he's from Northern Europe. Andreas Oberg, fabulous demonstration from this sort of stuff, where he is taking a solo. He's taking a solo, and then he stops playing and starts singing the solo, and then picks the solo up with his guitar from where his voice left off. So it might be, for want of a better word, let's see if I can do this in that Dorian thing that I was doing a second ago. He's playing. It's like, whoa! But he does it over, like, I don't know, over minor swing or something like that. It's crazy. It's a wonderful demonstration. But that is a fascinating thing. Fascinating thing. Here's a very good question as well from our friend Talaka, saying, what about patterns? Can you use a pattern when you know it's sixteenths or triads at any moment? For sure, right? For sure you can. So patterns are something that we play in the way that it's part of our vocabulary. So when we're playing stuff, you absolutely can reach for patterns. It doesn't have to be something that you're uniquely generating every time you play. That would be the equivalent of if you're conversing with someone. And I'm going to say this, and I don't want this to sound like it's me going, oh, that's a stupid question, because it's really not. It's a great question and a very good observation. And this is something guitar players will ask. But guitar players will ask about this stuff is, can I use patterns? But it's a little like a conversationalist asking if they're allowed to use sentences. Or am I allowed to use sentences that I've said before? Of course you are. Absolutely you can. You know, you have a particular way of speaking. You have particular patterns in your playing that you can absolutely reach for. So if you know it's sixteenths or it's triads and you go, it's almost like you subconsciously file this Rolodex and go, ooh, sixteenths would be cool right now. And you play something sixteenthsy and this 16th pattern that you've practiced might just come out. And if that's the case, then it's probably the right choice for that moment. If that makes a lot of sense, hopefully that does. Hopefully that does. Here is one from Six Strings DNA. How can I make my solos sound more like solos and less like improvising? Should I use more arpeggios? I don't think that is the answer. And I'm also gonna use the conversation thing about this. Arpeggios are a great choice, right? But that's a bit like saying, how can I make my conversations sound more like conversations and less like rambling? Should I use more adjectives? Do you see where I'm going with this? Arpeggios are a really cool choice, but to make your solos sound more like solos, this should be, your focus should be less on the tools that you're using and more on your musical intent. Now, what I'm going to encourage you to, it's a great question, it's a very good question. I'm going to encourage you to go and revisit this stream, but specifically revisit the last 3 or 4 streams that we've done, where we really go in depth on this topic, because I think you'll get a lot out of it. What you'll notice is that it's not about the tools, it's not about, oh, am I doing pentatonics, or am I doing alternate picking, or should I play through a Marshall? This stuff's all important, but it's not what's going to make your solo sound musical. What's going to make your solo sound musical is awareness and intent in your playing. And that's something that takes a bit of cultivating. It takes some time. Folks, we've got some questions about the backing track. The backing tracks are indeed in the Lick Library backing track session. And oftentimes, truthfully, I'm deciding on these tracks like just as I'm about to stream. So I'll play through a few and just pick the one that I'm feeling out, so it's often not really premeditated on this, but let me see if we have this backing track, track Lick Library. If we do, because there's a schedule for this stuff, Guitar backing tracks. Let me just see if I can find this. Search backing tracks, G, guitar jam tracks. Let me just guide you on this, by the way. I'll show you this now. So if I share my screen, I'll see if I can find this. This will be the last thing we're doing today, by the way, just in case you guys are wondering. So, because we are running out of time, but in case you want to find these backing tracks, let me go find this for you. This should all be in the Lick Library backing tracks section, because a few of you guys are asking. So let me share. Yes, Chrome, allow Chrome, that's fine. Chrome tab, licklibrary.com, share. There's our, look at that. There you go. There's 6 new guitar lessons. Very cool. 6 new song lessons. Oh, look at that. There's me. Hey, amazing. Cool. Excellent. Let's find a guitar jam track in the key of G, and let's see if we can find this one. Guitar jam track G, and then, ooh, what have we got? We've got so many of them. 42 backing tracks, no less. So let's try medium tempo, see if that's going to work. Getting loads of these. I don't even know if this one is actually out yet. We'll see. Medium tempo G blues backing track. Who is this by? Laid back blues with horns. So that's not the one. But you can see we've got tons of them on there. If it's not in here already, then maybe it's slow. Maybe we'll try slow. See if that's in there. G, slow. Oh, we got tons of those. Wow. Geez, 20 of them. Let's see. The point with this anyway is, look, these are all these backing tracks that we're using. They're either in the Lick Library backing track library under guitar jam tracks, or they are soon to be added. So yeah, there we go. There we go. Folks, I'm going to have to bid you adieu. Listen, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here on the week between Christmas and New Year. We will be streaming on Monday, so don't forget. Would love to see you. Would love to see you with your new Christmas guitars. In the meantime, folks, have a great Christmas if you celebrate. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. Enjoy spending time with your families. Enjoy spending time with your guitar if you can. And I'll see you guys next week. Let's play some more on this and see if I can create something musical. Here we go. Probably not. Probably just make some cool random noises, but that's part of the fun too. See you guys next week. Have a good one.